what we wanted to do today was sort of talk about creating an end-to-end user experience. We wanted to also give you a little background into the Hershey's chocolate world. Obviously, the 4D show is what you saw there, and there's many others. And how do you extend that online experience, that offline experience online, digitally, and socially, and then sort of looking at what's next. And the one thing that we do hope we do, and because I often do when I go to conferences, is to make sure that you walk away with something that you can potentially use. I mean, that's our biggest goal here, is that you know there's something at the end of this that, that you can take back to your organization, at least spark some thought, and so that's our goal. So, what I wanted to do, obviously, real quick introductions. My name is Eric Jones. I'm Vice President of Digital Marketing for R2 Integrated. We are a digital marketing and technology firm headquartered in Baltimore, Maryland. We do a couple things. As we're specialists, as Umang said earlier. We specialize in everything. No, I'm just kidding. That's not true. We do search and social content, really, for the social side. Analytics is one of our big practice areas, and then digital assets and technology. So creating, an online experience of our own, and that's part of what Jeff likes to use us for is that kind of thing. We're headquartered in Baltimore, as I said. We also have an office in Seattle. Some of our clients, obviously, Hershey's Chocolate World is one of them. Clients like Under Armour, Microsoft is a client of ours, some of the big names. McCormick is another one. So just a variety of clients. We have a technology practice, so we are partners with marketing automation services like Marketo and Eloqua, as well as Acquia, which is out here at the conference today, and Adobe. We're a partner with Adobe as well, and I know that was mentioned yesterday as some of the marketing suite items. So that's a little bit about us. I want to get through that quickly. One of the things that Jeff, back in 2012, asked us to help him do was how to use digital to take the online or the offline experience and move that into the online world. And back in 2012, I think even Jeff can admit back then that there was some challenges. They hadn't really done this as of yet. They were, again, as many companies were doing. They had started, they dipped their toe into it. Jeff was a one-man show, kind of to sort of say. And he asked us, how are we going to do this? What's our roadmap for the next 3 years? Knowing that we can't bite off on everything at once. And so what we ultimately did was obviously started with the strategy, started to look at how consumers engage online, how they engage with a brand like Hershey's Chocolate World, which is different than a Reese brand or a Kiss brand, and he'll touch on that. How do they execute an email format, which is still popular for them because their goal is to, once you come to Hershey's Chocolate World, is to get you to come back. Once you engage with the brand, they want you to come back from that standpoint as well. And so we did a number of things. We first knew, obviously, with mobile consumption, with social, and so we started to look at sort of everything for them. And one of the things that was really big, obviously, for him was constant engagement in the places where they are, which is Facebook. I mean, the audience is mothers and who are the trip planners. For most of us, wives, they all do all the work to get us to go on destinations and enjoy ourselves. And so that was a big focus to us. But understanding what content was going to work, and so that was another big focus. And then taking that content that's actually happening in Hershey's Chocolate World and in various other properties for Hershey's Chocolate World, and extending that from, again, the offline experience, so you experience something, into the online world, into the digital space. And so that's, at kind of the highest level what Jeff had asked us to do. And so that was 2012, and now it's 2013, moving into 2014. And so there's been a number of conversation about what's next, and so we'll sort of get to that through this conversation. But we've just kind of put up a couple of, obviously it is Hershey's Chocolate World is a fun brand, so we're very fortunate with that. And so we've been able to create a number of sort of exciting and entertaining items, and you saw the 4D show and the capabilities with that. So, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. So, Jeff?
Certainly, I am Jeff Sommer. I handle digital marketing and social marketing for the Hershey experience, which is all the Hershey Chocolate Worlds globally. And the Hershey's Chocolate World in Hershey, PA, is a rather visited location. We have close to 4 million visitors every year coming to that location in Hershey, Pennsylvania. We also have global retail experiences, stores in Hershey's Chocolate World Times Square. We also have in Niagara Falls, Canada, We also have Singapore, Shanghai, and Chicago. So there are a couple other locations as well. And coming soon to Las Vegas and the New York Hotel and Casino. And just so you understand, we are part of this Hershey experience. So we sort of sit off to the sides of the brands, but we celebrate those brands. So we have that unique opportunity to encompass over 40 brands and celebrate each of those within our stores, and especially in our flagship location in Hershey, PA. And you can imagine we have a lot of content to share as well. We can repurpose from the brands. So some of the things that happen in Hershey, PA that really engage and provide visitors with a one-of-a-kind experience are, of course, the Hershey's Great Chocolate Factory tour ride, American tour ride, and that is really a simulated factory tour. There's also Hershey's Chocolate Tasting Adventure, Hershey's Create Your Own Candy Bar, which is what everybody wants to do when they come to Hershey, PA, of course. Hershey Trolley Works, which is a tour of the town, and also what you just saw Reese explaining, and that's Hershey's Great Chocolate Factory Mystery in 4D. So Hershey's Chocolate World was built in 1973 when capacity at the actual chocolate factory in downtown Hershey just exceeded limits, and they couldn't handle the volume of people coming to see what Milton Hershey had built. And when we consider at the company, we consider Milton Hershey as the first, probably the first, experiential marketer to ever live. He really knew the value of consumer engagement and used it as a tool to really build his chocolate empire. So he wanted people to see what he created and the town he built, and also added resorts, a park. How many people have been to Hershey Park? How many people have been to Chocolate World? Okay, I want to see the rest of you there next year, okay? You got to be part of that 4 million. So we now, as the caretakers of his legacy, we have that unique opportunity, obviously, to take his mission and bring it into the digital age and allow visitors to engage before, as Eric said, planning their trip, during taking the different experiences that we have right now and actually maybe enhancing them a little bit because we're in a digital and mobile age. So we can take those, and after that then also we want to make sure that we're engaging. So I don't want to build anything that is, if you've ever been to a museum or any place, like even go to Hershey Park, you're downloading an app for the time you're there. I don't want that to happen. I have iconic brands that I want to celebrate throughout the entire year. We're a very seasonal company. So of course we want to make sure that whatever we build mobily, I want to engage you throughout the year and make sure that I'm top of mind. It's very easy to do in the United States because we have iconic brands. Everybody knows when you say Hershey's. It was great when I started working there because my wife said to me, she said, you know, it must be nice to work for a company where you don't have to explain what you do. You say, I work for Hershey's. Oh, I know exactly what you do. So it is fun. But when you're going into emerging markets like we are now globally, and we're going into China, Singapore, Dubai, we're going into these markets that no one really knows Hershey's. Their first touch with a Hershey's brand will be potentially in a location, in a Hershey's Chocolate World location. So we have a flagship store in Shanghai where we're getting people there that have never heard of Hershey's. So we have a very great opportunity for the company, but we also have a very unique opportunity to make sure that we engage them right from the start. So let's face it, I have a pretty fun job. You know, I get to use product characters as ambassadors. I get to have them explain our products, and really, you know, chocolate is chocolate. So we have a, you know, we can engage all the senses of every visitor, and we also give free samples. Everybody loves free samples, right? You go on the tour ride, you come into a Hershey's store, you're always greeted with something that you can taste and really understand what Hershey's is all about. So our goal, though, is to make sure that when you leave a Hershey's Chocolate World location, it's a well-remembered family fun experience. Hershey's means family fun, and we do a lot of that throughout all of our stores, especially in the Hershey's Chocolate World in Hershey, PA. But we want to make sure that we extend that fun and that excitement outside of the store walls. And that's where mobile comes in. Also, any other types of digital. So one of our new in-store experiences, retail experiences, and I'll kind of separate those a little bit. We have those emerging or those immersive experiences like the tour ride like the Great Chocolate Factory Mystery. But what we try to do now is also take the retail end of it. So as an example, we have a Hershey's Kisses specific retail space in the Hershey's Chocolate World in Hershey. And it's been in place for about 1.5 years right now, and it uses Microsoft Connect technology to really bring you in and engage you in the Hershey's factory commercials, Hershey's Kisses factory commercials. So if you've ever seen those where you see the inside, the Kisses getting ready to go inside, and they're getting prepared to go out into the world, and you get propelled, they get propelled, catapulted into a portal, and they end up in a dish. And it's usually being shared by a mother, or a family member with their child. And that is really the essence of Hershey's Kisses brand. So what we do is we created that in-store experience, and I do have a video here that kind of shows that experience in Hershey's Chocolate World. So it's a quick way to get people really engaged in that space. So much engaged that as soon as we launched that particular digital, and there's other digital pieces in that space as well, but we really drew people to that area that we increased Kisses sales throughout the entire building by 27%, and that has sustained overall. So that is really powerful. So learning from that, we went into the next phase, and that is, and these are some of the stats, as you can see. So we went to the next phase, and what's the next biggest brand for the Hershey company? And it is Reese's. So we took the Reese's experience. We made an experience that we launched just in August, the end of August, in our Hershey's Times Square store on the corner of 48th and Broadway. And we have a touchscreen there that allows you to create your own personal perfect combination. And with that, when you finish putting your amount of peanut butter, your amount of chocolate that you personally love, it'll also ask you if you like crunchy or creamy, and then it gives you a personality. So you're the perfect peanut butter lover if you love peanut butter. You're the extremist if you like a fast break, because that's a totally different part of the brand portfolio of Reese's. I can say that has also done extremely well. It's had, in the first week alone, has had over 3,000 touches, and in that week over week when we were measuring, it increased sales by 37%. So really, that is the power of digital, and we're learning from that, and also looking into how does mobile going to do that? How is that going to create and sustain your feeling and affinity for the Hershey's brands? So another opportunity is with the 4D show that you saw. So how do we take that experience and really look at it from, we have those characters like you saw today, Reese. We also have a Hershey's character and a Kiss character. How do we extend that to the store? We're in the process right now of launching a engaging experience in the Hershey's Times Square store. So come in around the holiday season, you'll be able to walk into the Hershey's Times Square store and talk to Hershey, Reese, Kiss, real time, live from Hershey, PA, at scheduled times. So we'll actually be able to engage people that way. And even that Hershey's Times Square store, as I mentioned before, that could be the first point of contact. There's a lot of international people that visit that store, and it could be their first contact with any of our brands. So we want to make sure that they leave there with that experience. The other thing that we love to leave people with is this thing called surprise and delight. If you're not walking through a Hershey's Chocolate World location and being surprised and delighted at every turn, we've really gone down and really not done our mission. We want to make sure that it is a memorable experience.
So what I wanted to talk about just briefly was some things that we did to kind of surprise and delight before there was ever a show. And so we just kind of put some graphics up on the screen. Part of what Jeff challenged us with was we don't have a show. The show itself doesn't launch until mid-May, and we need, obviously, awareness of this activity. And so how do you take something that is so engaging and get people to engage with it online? They had, obviously, a very dedicated following on Facebook that was increasing and growing. They had a background list of people in email that had asked to stay in touch with them. And so we obviously said, in the beginning, Facebook was kind of our medium. And, So we created Facebook campaigns. We created, used Facebook posts. Am I dead? Is that what happened? And so we created Facebook campaigns and Facebook posts. And again, I'm just putting up some assets up here. We sort of did what we call the slow reveal. You guys saw the trailer initially. Initially, the trailer, the very first trailer, didn't actually have any of the characters in it. We wanted to use the brand ambassadors or the characters as part of that slow reveal. And so we took about a 35 to 45 day time frame, in from the time we started all the way through to the show launch. And it was exciting. It was exciting for, I think, Jeff and the Hershey's Chocolate World to have something that was that entertaining to put out there. And one of the things that we were constantly sort of looking at was, what was the action that someone took? And I think Umang said this earlier. It wasn't so much that, how many people saw it. It was the action that they took to get to it. And one of the things that we were focused on was the link clicks, because we wanted people to engage with the brand on Facebook, but we ultimately really wanted to drive them to the Hershey's Chocolate World website, and that was sort of a big thing. So it was nice that people liked the post. That was great. Accelerated our message distribution, which is what the power of social is, accelerated message distribution. But really, it was that link click mentality. So we kind of look at all the actions. One of the things that Jeff had asked us was what was our reach, because everybody above him wants to know how many people saw it. So the 50 days leading up to the campaign, they had about, I think, 1.5 million sort of impressions or Facebook reach, as if you guys know the definition of that. During the campaign, they had about 4.5 million, so in that 50-day time period that we were launching this. And then after that time frame, because of all the interactions we had, they were looking at about 6.5 million people from a Facebook and reach standpoint. And well, that's just sort of a kudos, good job. It's one of those things. It's not a metric that we really kind of look at, but it's a nice to have kind of in your back pocket that we were able to reach that many people. And so it's been a nice sort of showcase for Hershey, and something that we were able to do. And being able to leverage that into different stores. But that's not really why you guys are here. So I understand that. So we wanted to give you the background of the Hershey's Chocolate World. We wanted to sort of highlight some things that Hershey's Chocolate World was doing and thinking about, and that they are an innovative company. I don't know if you guys understood that, but the 4D show is the first of its kind. It's the only one in the world that interacts with the audience and uses live puppeteer action. So theoretically,
in 4D.
In 4D.
So that is a distinction. So it was the Jim Henson Creature Shop that developed that.
Right. So that's pretty entertaining. I mean, that's fantastic for a brand like that to compete with the likes of others that I will not mention, such as Disney or whatever. So we wanted to talk about what's next. And so Jeff and I have a number of conversations sort of ongoing about, what's left in the roadmap and what are we thinking about. And I think that one of the things that Jeff and I are constantly sort of looking into is mobile. And you can't have a what's next conversation without talking about the use of mobile. Jeff, would you kind of agree to that?
Yeah, I definitely would. And it offers exciting opportunities to surprise and delight, as I mentioned before. So that's why we're looking at mobile as well.
So one of the things that we have to kind of understand is the mobile landscape for consumers, right?
Yeah, and I just want to say, the Google's Glasses breakout session, if anybody had been to that, one of the speakers said, I think very well, and we can really adopt this, is that mobile should be used as utility to help people on the way instead of get in their way. And really, that's really the premise behind why, and when I think back, we didn't really jump into mobile with an app, because I want to make sure it's relevant to the people who actually come to the location. But also, as I said before, I want to engage them throughout the year, so I want to make sure I'm doing it right. I've seen a lot of visitor centers and different museums and things do it wrong, because as I said before, you use it when you're there, and that's it. Then you delete it from your phone. So we want to make sure that we're doing it and becoming relevant throughout the year.
So one of the things that we obviously are planning for, and larger brands have the ability to do, is sort of look out very much to the future and plan to get there for that. And so obviously for 2013, these are sort of the expected consumer, the mobile landscape. You can see 140 million smartphone users, still 247 million total mobile phone users, 123 million in tablet users. So again, pretty compelling numbers. 2014, still very compelling. right? And 159 million, so that was over the 140 million in smartphone users. Not a very large increase in mobile phone users overall, but obviously people starting to adopt the smartphones. Tablets obviously on the rise. When you look at what's going to happen for 2017, or what they're estimating, obviously, 207 million smartphone users. You know, that's something along the lines of a 48% increase in 3 years, and that's pretty compelling. You know, and you look at the total number of mobile internet users. That in and of itself is extremely large. But if you look, mobile phone users themselves, you know, not a large increase. Tablet users, again, 45% from 2013 to 2017. So 178 million people on tablets, you know, compared to where we were previously, and that's something that, again, a brand like Hershey, you know, is paying attention to. I mean, you know, the numbers, you can do anything you want with numbers, but they certainly don't lie, and obviously this is predictive, and it's hard to tell what will happen in 2017, but you know, the trends are going this way, and so this is kind of...
Yeah, and especially at Hershey's Chocolate World, as you walk out on the floor and you see people, and the statistics show this, more people are accessing us via mobile. Makes total sense. You're a tourist, you're not going to be carrying your laptop around, right? We have free Wi-Fi, we're really enhancing that part of it. So now we really need to follow through and look at the mobile solution. So that really is our mobile mission at this point.
So we also wanted to, you know, look at this number, and this number is kind of staggering, and it's actually still small if you compare it. 2013, with the expected $10.46 billion spent on mobile marketing, 4.5% of that actually spent just on ads. So a lot of, obviously, mobile, a lot of advertising, when they look at that for budgets, it's all based on advertising spending. But if only 4.5% of $10.46 billion is going to be spent on ads, you can see the other stat there, 64% spent on CRM. So maintaining your app, putting content into your app, the retention effort. So that's kind of big. That's large. You know, the interesting thing is that all of you here, at least 60% of the 100 and some people here in this room, believe that your mobile marketing budget is going to increase. And I think that the challenge with that is you know, where's the dollars going to come from? And I know that you and I have talked about that. So
yeah, our budget is not, it's increasing, not very much, but it's increasing. What we're doing is really repurposing, and I think probably everyone is doing that. You're taking traditional dollars that you put into your marketing budget and actually repurposing them in the digital world. So that's quite a change for us, and a mindset change for us as well as you know, looking at how we are building those mobile digital elements into our experience as you come into Hershey's Chocolate World. We're actually looking at, you have to add money then to maintain, obviously, to keep content fresh. So there really is that content portion that, you know, we really don't have much of a problem doing that, as I said before, but making sure that it's relevant in a mobile way and throughout into the device that people are using. So taking the experience as they come through Hershey's Chocolate World and just making it that much better and that much memorable because they are using a mobile device and personalizing it for them as well.
So one of the things that we do at R2I is we like the quadrant format, right? And so we like to plot things out to see when it makes sense and when it doesn't make sense. And we often get the question, and actually I saw it, I think, tweeted like 4 or 5 times yesterday, you know, when's responsive design right? When's an app right? When do I do something mobily, and how do I go about doing that? And so, you know, obviously as we're having this conversation with Jeff, there are many phases of mobile experience that we can talk about. And so we kind of build this, you know, based on a number of things. And if you kind of look at it, we really want to know, you know, ultimately the level of features or utility. Obviously, everybody's familiar with the utility functionality. A bank, a mobile app is a utility kind of functionality. A weather app is a utility functionality. You guys are, you know, probably sitting on Twitter and Facebook, and you've got something that's, you know, streaming your information into an app. That's all the features and utility to it. And so, and also that level of personalization. And so that's key. You know, so as you continue to stack these kinds of things on top of each other, obviously, you know, kind of going up the left-hand side for you guys, we kind of look at it from the mindset that you can either, you know, go mobile optimized or responsive. You can go into this hybrid space where it's actually using technology like HTML5, but also utilizing the features of the phone. Or you get completely into a native app. And there's challenges associated with that. I mean, obviously, this is subjective. There's well, I want one factor that often happens with CEOs and CIOs. It's, I just want an app. Like, give me an app. Or marketing people. And so that kind of throws the quadrants out the door. But we also look at the app lifespan. So the FutureM app is a good example where it has high features. You know, it's very utility focused. They want you to know exactly what time a session is and who's speaking. And so, again, you know, features in there. But the lifespan isn't very long. Right? And so that's something that they had to make the decision of, do I want to go highly mobile optimized, use a hybrid version, or go with a native app? And they chose a native app, and that's fine. Obviously, as you get into what we call the relevant value quadrant, and this is where big brands and you and your organization really want to play. This is where I'm going to be using this app for a long time. I have a lot of frequency to it. It has a lot of features, a lot of hopeful personalization to it, and ultimately you're getting into that sort of relevant value where this is something that someone's going to engage with in their daily life or in a very frequent manner. And so again, we can plot any number of things on here. I think Jeff mentioned in the tourism industry, there's a number of apps that people, you go to someplace, you use it for the day, and then it's gone. And the question is, was an app necessary? Could I have done something else with an experience mobily? And that's often, you know, what people don't quite do. And so we work with a lot of agencies or a lot of brands to kind of answer that question. So, one of the things that we also look at is sort of an engagement continuum. And so this helps us build the actual that use the quadrant to fill in. And so we really look at, you know, how are we going to make people aware of this, you know, experience, first of all. When are they going to be in sort of a engagement mode with us, so sort of in this case a pre-purchase. How are they going to utilize it when they're on site or when they're engaging with us on a day-to-day? So is this something that they'll engage with us when they're not on site or when they're not at a location or they're doing something else? And so all these things really kind of, you know, go into this sort of engagement quadrant that really hone into the type of experience that you should be building inside of your mobile experience. And so I know that Jeff, you know, we've talked a lot about this. So.
Yeah, and awareness obviously is pretty key for us through social or digital advertising or even just word of mouth, traditional word of mouth, to get those 4 million people, especially in Hershey, PA. But so we have the awareness factor. We also have the pre-purchase factor where you can go onto our site right now and actually purchase tickets. So we want to make sure that you are planning your trip in advance and making sure that you're purchasing those tickets. But when you get in person, as an example, the 4D show now, we've actually allowed or request that visitors text the characters. So when you get into the show, you can text the characters, let them know it's a special occasion, and during the show, which makes it different every time, they will call you out and they will say, "Happy birthday, Joe." They will say, you know, so that 4D character is actually speaking to you. And I don't know how many people that I've seen come out of that show and just be, "Oh my gosh, Reese talked to me, Kiss talked to me." It was, you know, and it really makes it, again, that memorable experience. So we want to make sure that in person, when they're there, they're being engaged and remembering. Post-purchase, no brainer. We want to make sure that they come back every season to engage with our brands and to come to Hershey's Chocolate World. We have events, what we call the shoulder season, outside of peak season, which is the summer season. But we have all sorts of events. We're going into fall right now. We have a s'mores campfire party where you can actually engage and celebrate s'mores. How many people don't like s'mores? You can actually make it at Hershey's Chocolate World, be entertained by storytelling and songs, and really be in a really cool environment, and it is very family focused. So we want to make sure that we're telling people about those things on an ongoing process.
So, you know, one of the things that often brands struggle with is at what stage do they want to sort of play in the mobile environment? And so the awareness stage, mobile optimized, you know, in Jeff's case, the in-person experience, I mean, you could have a mobile app just when you're there on location, or a highly mobile optimized experience. But again, as Jeff said, you know, that engagement continuum for a brand like Hershey doesn't end. They don't want it to end. It could end. You know, you could allow them to walk out the door and they could be like, "Wow, I had the best time in the world." But how do we get them to extend that experience mobily out to their friends and family? How do they get them to be there with mom and dad and take a picture and send that out to grandma, you know, directly from the app? These are kind of things that, you know, we have to kind of think about in that in-person and that post-purchase experience, you know, that we sort of try to follow this engagement continuum for. One of the other things that, obviously, as we talk about apps, and Again, there are a number of people that are, again, probably using an app right now. And there's probably a number of apps that you used or tried to use this morning or you've downloaded in the past week that had one aspect that they did really well and another aspect that they completely suck at. We've all had those kind of app experiences, and there's hundreds of thousands of apps out there that sort of fulfill that. One of the things that one of the last components we wanted to leave you with was what we consider sort of the 5 essentials of mobile integration. And again, one of those things that you guys can either agree or disagree upon with us. That's okay. We like discourse. But the main thing that the app, in our opinion, had to do was be a brand extension. And that was kind of first and foremost. And it's not so much that it just has a brand in the app. It was really that it translated that experience. So if you're a store, if you're a retail, if you're online, if you're a service company, whatever it is, it takes that experience, that brand experience, whatever that is for you, and extends it into the mobile app. So it bridges that gap of offline and online. And that was critical. That was kind of number one, that it had to fulfill that promise for you. Number 2 for us is that it had distinct value. One of the things that we absolutely needed to do is create a unique experience, and it had to have a value to it, something that you couldn't get somewhere else. So it's connecting your brand with something that was very distinct. Personalization, and this is the one where if you probably are going to attend a seminar sometime today or tomorrow, so we'll talk about big data and the ability to use big data and things like that. And this is what we consider big data useful for, is trying to get down into the small insights about you. I mean, again, there's 100 people in here, and if you all had the same app from Hershey's Chocolate World, the idea would be that you guys have a very different experience with that app individually. It knows where you are. It knows what your past purchases were. That's that personalization level. Long-time use. Again, as we said, there are apps out there that you use them for the day of something, a few days, and really we're trying to build, you really want to try and build something that fulfills that long-time use, that frequency model. It doesn't have to be used every day, not even every week. I mean, there are probably tons of apps out there. I know that like Starwood Preferred or hotel apps that you're not going to use those every day, but you are going to rely on them when you need to, and there's a long use to them. And then the last but not least, and it's kind of a no-brainer, but we'll put it up here, is that it has to function. How many of you had an app experience in the last week or two that just didn't work for one reason or another? Exactly. My Words with Friends keeps crashing here recently, and I can't stand it. So, so that's the kind of thing that has to work, or it's just frustrating. And so we sort of don't. You have to have that on the list, but it's sort of a no-brainer from that standpoint.
And I agree, even from if you go back to Milton Hershey and his vision, it was applicable back in the late 1800s as it is today. It's the brand extension. We want to make sure we are really extending that brand to visitors. We want to provide a value to them. We also want to do some personalization. So when you come into Hershey's Chocolate World, it is a personalized experience. You can get your picture on a bar, or on a wrapper, on a Hershey's bar. You can leave with that. You can talk to characters, so it's really that personal one-on-one, and obviously long-time use. We want to make sure, he wanted to make sure, definitely, that you remembered him and that you would come back to the city or the town that he built on chocolate. And then I think he would really want it to function. If it didn't function, if the chocolate factory didn't function, I wouldn't be standing up here right now. So functionality is definitely key in anything we do, obviously.
So what we've done is obviously, one of the things that everybody wants to see is examples of what others are doing, and we're no different. We want to see that kind of thing. And so what we did was put together a little bit of a list. You'll see that number 5 is not on here. If it didn't function, it doesn't exist to us, so we just sort of left 5 off. I mean, obviously these all kind of meet that standard. 1 was brand extension, MasterCard, sort of that experience of online, of finding a location. We believe that's a good brand extension. They've done a good job of knowing what you need to use the MasterCard app for, and they've extended that into the brand. This is one that you guys may not be familiar with. It's a company called Florida Mall. They are a women's apparel, more so on the intimate side apparel. Whoops. Go back to them for 1 second. The reason that we use them as a test case is because they are actually an only online brand. The person who's the CEO of this company was at Victoria's Secret for a long time, and she started a brand that she didn't want to have any brick and mortar stores. And so it's hard to create an experience via online only. And that's what she tries to do, is through the Florida Mall app. I'm not There's a lot of other images in the Florida Mall app, and I guarantee you half of you will go and download this thing just because you want to see what it looks like. We weren't allowed to put it up here because there's some very intimate apparel kind of pictures. But they've gone and done and created
Hershey Wholesome.
Hershey Wholesome, yes,
Sorry.
Hershey Wholesome.
Hashtag Hershey.
Hashtag Hershey Wholesome. And so we liked it because of the fact that she has created a brand that exists only online, and you are engaging with the store in this online thing. They do have occasionally the pop-up stores in like New York City and things like that, but that's the experience. So she's created that brand extension of this intimate apparels into this app, and we thought that it was a good example, even though it's not very Hershey Wholesome as much.
So this next one is really putting you in the situation or putting you in the app, and this is something that is a great example of that as well. We'll play through this. I think this is really a good example of how you put yourself and really create tremendous engagement for this instance, Superman. But we also do this as a second part of the experience in Times Square. We have it's really called Play the Perfect Part, where you actually put yourself in a commercial and you can share that out, a Reese's commercial, and you share that out onto Facebook. So it's really putting you as a brand ambassador for your favorite Reese's product. So, it's similar to that, but those are the types of things that we really want to get to. So another one is, personalization, as I mentioned before. This is a good, this is Sephora. This is really a good view into where we want to be as well from a personal, almost a big data, understanding who you and your habits and understanding what we can offer you at any given time. It really becomes a personal app. Your purchase history, that sort of thing. So, a little bit of that as well is where we want to be. And what presentation would not be complete without the Starbucks app, which is a brilliant app. Starbucks, to us, is really, to me especially, I talk about it all the time because I use it all the time. But it's really one of those apps that I aspire to because from our standpoint, when you go and purchase, when you actually add to your card, you're actually only doing that in $25 increments. That's what I want to get to. I want to make sure that when you're coming to Hershey's Chocolate World and we do something like this mobily, that you're adding $25 to that, or $50 or whatever. But we also want to have the opportunity for grandparents that know you're coming to Hershey's Chocolate World to say, hey, I want to load your card with $100 so you can spend it with the family and the grandkids. So we want to make sure that we're engaging in that way. Also, this is a great loyalty type of app too. I'm very loyal to my Starbucks app, and they're very grateful for that, I'm sure, since I'm a gold member right now. But it's really that building that loyalty through this mobile application as well.
And then the last one was Uber, and so we wanted to show two uses of long-time apps. So Starbucks, I said, I guarantee you that if you're a Starbucks drinker, you're probably a daily Starbucks drinker, right? And so you're constantly using that. But something like an Uber mentality, which has a long time use to it, it's very personalized to you, it knows where you are, that kind of thing, which may not be as frequent, and so that's okay. And so there's two different types of long time use mentality, and so we felt that obviously Uber is one of those good examples where it will follow you around, and obviously with Jeff's and Hershey's Chocolate World stores, Vegas, Niagara, Chicago, New York, kind of everywhere, that ability to sort of use it when you go to other stores is something that we certainly need to keep in mind. Again, functionality wasn't on here, so it had to function, they have to function. I mean, that's sort of a big yes that has to happen. One of the things that, like I said, we've kind of touched on here is, taking that in-store experience. So obviously Hershey's has an in-store experience. It's chocolate. People love it. But how do you get them to engage with you in something that they may come to once a year and maybe once every 3 years that they come back to? And so that's the conundrum. That's what we're working on currently. We just wanted to sort of invite you into that kind of a conversation with us and show you sort of the things that Hershey and the brand and are focused on. We hope that you sort of enjoy that. We've got about I think a couple minutes, about 12 minutes or so, or 10 minutes for any questions that you guys have. And so we certainly invite them.
And so. Reese sent me a care package overnight, and so I have some prizes for people who are going to actually ask questions.
So if you have a question in the back of your mind, you may want to ask
really
the
like
first
peanut butter?
question. There it is. First question. Go ahead.
You got to ask the question first.
Yeah, ask the question first.
You think I'm going to tell you that? Actually, it's being determined, so that's a cop-out, but it actually is being determined right now. It's being determined. The mobile development right now is considered a capital expense, and we're still figuring out capital for 2014. So it is on the docket for it. But
what about what percentage compared to the overall market?
the overall marketing budget, it's probably in the neighborhood of 60 to 70%. So I'd say about 60%. We were actually made a conscious effort not to do any print. One thing I need to mention about Hershey's Chocolate World, and I think I said this before, is that we are the Hershey experience. So we are not we're part of the company as the visitor center, but we have our separate P&L. So we're a separate division. So we run on our own. We're a cost, or a profit-making part of the company as well. So we also, because of the unique location of Hershey's Chocolate World, we sit within all of the Hershey Entertainment and Resorts properties. So we are like an island amongst the other company that Milton Hershey came up with, which is a privately held by the Hershey Trust company. It's the Hershey Entertainment and Resorts. We work in tandem with them because they're bringing people into Hershey, Pennsylvania. So we really work very closely with them as well from a marketing standpoint to bring people into Hershey, Pennsylvania. Okay. Do you like Reese's? This is 2 Reese's Peanut cups, but they're 2 half-pound cups. So don't eat that all in one sitting.
Do not eat that all at once, please. Share that with your table.
And do not look at the calorie intake on the back side.
Do not
don't
flip
look at
that over.
Don't look at that. Are you?
Oh, perfect.
Well, then you could go and get that at Hershey's Chocolate World. Give it back. All right.
I think good. Yeah.
Yeah, just to tell you, I had this flashback of a 5-hour ride in Canada to try to get to the Hershey factory in Toronto before it closed.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a super hot day, and we put all the air conditioning, not on us, but down on the floor.
Chocolate.
We had our chocolate, so it wouldn't melt.
Yeah.
But I was so impressed with your social media results. My question is, what percentage, or did you use any paid media, part of this native advertising in there? And if so, what was your experience with that?
There was, yeah.
Yeah, there was some. It was a small budget, to be completely honest with you. I can't know the exact total, but I'd say it was in the $5,000 total. Like, it wasn't that. It was a little bit. We wanted to sort of reach a different audience than already engaged with us. We wanted to sort of leverage the power beyond what we knew we had. Again, you look at something like a Reese's brand or a Hershey brand that has 10 million followers and 9 million followers, but Jeff sort of just alluded to, he doesn't really have access to that as much as he would like. So he was operating in, again, his own island per se, and I think when we started, we had roughly 250 or 300,000 fans somewhere in there. And so we knew that we needed to get out beyond that. This was such a great story to tell that it really absolutely needed budget put behind it. It was very useful. It was very inexpensive for the reach that we got for it. And so we've done plenty of them where it just didn't work, where this one we would say it absolutely worked, and we've absolutely looked at doing it again.
So we have a big cup for you, though. Not the big cup, but the big cup. No, I'm just saying. That came from Reese, not from me.
Great presentation, guys. Actually, I had the opportunity to go to Hershey Park in July. Just loved the overall experience, both live and on mobile app, which is quite frequently. But I think, Eric, you had mentioned as part of the digital strategy, email. I'm curious to understand sort of how you view the power of email compared to mobile or social.
Yeah, it's a really good question. So how do you view the power of email as it compares to digital and social overall? And for them, email is a good sort of constant reminder we get into your inbox. It doesn't, I'll be transparent, it doesn't have the highest click-through rate. We're not going to come up here and say, oh, we get 25% click-through rates or open rates because of that it's Hershey. So we still struggle with that, honestly. But we've actually seen a lot of engagement coming from the email back to the website, specifically for the events. A lot of what Jeff has talked about with the shoulder season. So we use it a lot, not in the peak season because we know people are more so traveling, but a lot more to remind the people. And again, they have, Jeff does, he segments his marketing amongst sort of what they call, within the I can't remember what the name of you call it, that's within the Hershey area, that sort of, but we do a lot of marketing. It's escaping me right now. It's sort of some acronym. But they do a lot of marketing to remind those people that, hey, there's an event. There's a s'mores event. There's a campfire, campsite chat with Reese coming up. And so they use email for a lot of those. Just to remind them, there's also Facebook. So we utilize the message concurrently. So if email goes out, then the same messages are going out on Facebook and all the social properties. And then email goes out, and you got the same message going out on all the properties. So we use it as sort of the start to the editorial calendar and as a great way to sort of constantly get in the inbox. And we've definitely seen everybody sort of keeps it in the back of their back pocket, I guess, and because the engagement and click-through rates don't happen just on send, they happen sort of periodically over time. So we use it as a constant reminder, and it's very visual. I mean, that's the good news, is that we have the ability. In some cases, it may not follow necessarily best practices from. There's always a hero image and that kind of thing. But we do get a lot of the click-through rates through that. We've also, obviously, with the mobile, 87% of all people read their email for the first time on mobile, and it's been mobile optimized at this point to make sure that it matches. The experience is very colorful on the mobile device as well, so we make sure that happens as well. So it's still very much a large portion of the strategy, but it's worked in tandem with the other ones. So.
Is there somebody else? Oh, I can do this.
Yeah, good.
Honestly, it's everyone. We actually have, what you really see at Hershey's Chocolate World in general are families and generations, multi-generations of families, and everyone gets something out of that. Because the older generation, we rely on this a lot, the older generation remembers the first time they got a Hershey's bar from a relative, a father, and that really, we really do play on those emotions, unfortunately. I mean, we have to, but we really do have that with us. The sharing of a kiss, and Reese's being such a powerful brand. Those three characters in that show are very powerful, and they speak to each generation of that family. So, and even the characters, we thought this out very carefully when developing the new characters. These are all new characters, by the way. We've had older characters. The older characters never had a personality. They never really had, even our kiss didn't really have a gender. It was very just walk-around characters. These new characters have distinct personalities. Reese is very bold and sassy. Kiss is very loving and caring. Hershey's is very stern, but that all relates back to the brands themselves, the Hershey's brand profiles. So it really does, it's everyone. I see multi-generation families come out of there all surprised and delighted and love it. And just being part of a show with all of your members of your family is a great, great experience. We are actually, Las Vegas is the next store to be opened, but we are opening other stores throughout China, in North America. Those are coming in the next few years. It's not as complicated as that. We want to be where tourists are, because we are a tourist-driven. So whenever you think of a big tourist opportunity, that's where we want to be. So it's not, this doesn't really play into it. Yeah. Yep.
What kind of consumer research do you do during the development stages of the mobile product?
The Hershey company is an insights company. It's not really a chocolate company. Overall, Hershey does tremendous amount of insight work across all the brands. At Hershey's Chocolate World, we follow that same pattern, and we actually do guest insights where we've, I believe in the past 3 years, we've surveyed over 30,000 people in our stores, and we build, there's a lot of guest satisfaction. How are we building affinity with brands? There's a whole slew of questions that we ask, and it really does help guide a lot of the marketing we do. It does guide, mobily too, where we're headed. So I'm usually mining a lot of data to come up with, and feeding it to R2I too, to understand how we should be developing these things. So, thank you.
Just so you guys can hear on this side, so he asked the data and how do we link back the consumer data and the interaction data to sales, and so the question was how do you extrapolate this?
Well, we have the retail digital partner we work with is Nano Nation, and they're a big digital firm that works with companies like Build-A-Bear and the cosmetic companies as well, MAC Cosmetics. They also work with Harley Davidson, a few other larger brands, Bed Bath & Beyond, I believe, as well. But they have a content management system where we're actually pulling data as to how many touches, and then we're correlating that with our sales data. We're making sure that it actually is making a difference. But that 37% and that 27% that I said for kisses as well is just purely looking at it year over year in those weeks in the prior year. It's just a spike and understanding that. And I will say that. I'm sorry? No, not a lot. We do on socially. We have talked about coming in and experiencing that, but it really is. I mean, when you have 4 million people coming into a building, July and August being about 2 million people coming through it, that's when the spikes are going up, obviously. But we're also redoing our retail spaces, so they're becoming more attractive, more modern, more appealing. So I can't say that it's all digital. There is a lot of, the Reese's experience really got a facelift. And what you do is when you create your perfect combination, it actually tells you who you are, and then it lights up a shelf that shows you, here's all the product that relates to you, so go and get it. So it is now, that's the first time we're actually taking something that's digital right in front of you and pushing you right exactly to the product that suits you the best.
All right, well, that's actually all the time that we have. So obviously, thanks for the questions. Thank you. If there's other questions that you guys want to ask, obviously, Jeff will stick around afterwards. We'll force him to. I do have one last question for you guys. So after seeing all of that and what sort of Hershey does, because we asked the question previously of how many people had been to Hershey's Chocolate World, and there was some handfuls. How many people would consider going to Hershey's Chocolate World, or at least inviting a friend and telling them about the experience after seeing this? I'm just curious. So
I did my job then.
Yeah, we did the job.
I can go home happy now.
Yeah, good. So, and anybody that we paid with chocolate should absolutely be going to Hershey's Chocolate World. So that's it. Thank you for your time. We appreciate it, and enjoy the rest of the show.